Hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets&Quants. Welcome to our second panel for our Online MBA conference today. We've got four great and very different schools, I might add, that are going to talk about the Online MBA experience. Let me introduce all of our panelists. First, we have Kara Adams, who is Associate Director of Admissions and Student Recruitment for MBA at UNC, which is the online MBA program at UNC at Chapel Hill, the Keenan Flagler Business School. Welcome.
Thank
we
you.
have Jessica Yeviks. Is that the correct pronunciation?
You got it. It looks scary, but it's phonetic.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank goodness. Who's director of the IE Business School Miami Center. IE Business School, of course, is based in Madrid, Spain. Beautiful location. They're about to open in September a brand new tower campus. I've been to that site. It's really spectacular. It's going to be a very big development for IE University. And mostly it will be used for their undergraduate students in the beginning, at least. We have Casey Jones, the Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions at the Gies College of Business, University of Illinois, for their iMBA program, which is done on the Coursera platform and has been one of the more disruptive entries in the online MBA market in recent years. All of these programs are highly popular. You know, there's been a significant increase in applications in online MBAs, as there has been for full-time programs as well. Part of that is the pandemic effect to some degree. But the difference here is people who enroll in an online MBA program are enrolling in courses that were specifically designed to be taught online. That's very different from a full-time MBA program that is disrupted and simply goes to Zoom, where the classes are pretty much as they used to be and not really redesigned from the ground up for an online format. So people who do go into online MBA programs today are getting a very different product than what the forced classes that have gone online at most schools are like today. So let's just talk a little bit about the basics. Tell me a little about how the program got started, how long ago, and how it's evolved over the years. Kara, let's start with you and UNC.
Sure. So our program has been around for over 10 years. Our format is set up to where you are required to attend class every week. Each class has a 90-minute required session. So as you mentioned, you're still doing the online format, but you still get that face-to-face interaction with faculty, students. Our class size is one thing that really sets us apart because we really limit our students per class to 15 to 18 students. And you can finish the program in as quick as 24 months. So most students take 2 classes at a time in order to finish in that amount of time. So you're essentially in 2 classes per week. Our program has obviously grown in size since it first started 10 years ago. We have had some of the largest enrollment in the history of the program during COVID, as a lot of students, realize this is the perfect time to really go back while they're at home and they have a little bit of extra time on their hands.
Great. And Jessica, IE was the first European school to offer an online degree program. And your online MBA is still one of the very few in Europe. Tell us about it and when it was created.
Yeah, it's very interesting to think of us as one of the, the more mature programs, because as you know, IE in general, we've been at the forefront of innovation and we're a very young institution in general. So our online program was actually founded in the early 2000s. And as John mentioned, was one of the first online MBAs in Europe and actually one of the first, at that level across the globe. And so one of the things that really sets our program apart, aside from the technology, which we'll get to, I think, later in the session, is that it's extremely immersive. So it's a cohort program. You'll actually be going through the same classes with your classmates. Right now, the program, you could complete it in 17 months, or if you needed to, you could complete it in 24 months because it is very intense. It's what we call a blended program. So the program would start out with a face-to-face period in Madrid, There'll also be one in the middle of the program, and you'll wrap up in Madrid as well, where you'll have your graduation, your final project. So you do have those face-to-face meetings with your classmates and your professors. And then there's also a global immersion week. So one thing about IE in general, and specifically about this program, it's extremely international. So not only are you interacting with those students on a daily basis through our different platforms and in your classes that happen on weekends, on those face-to-face periods, but we also have opportunities for students to have those face-to-face periods in an international location, understand a little bit about those industry trends, what's going on in that market, network with some of the local alumni as well. So it really has that global focus.
Right. And I might say Madrid is a really beautiful place to visit.
Yes.
And Casey, tell us about the IMBA at Gies College of Business.
Sure. So we actually just celebrated our 5th anniversary of the IMBA program just yesterday. Started out with 114 students in that initial cohort, and now have just over 1,500 graduates and 4,000 students enrolled. So we've seen exceptional growth over the past 5 years. We are a fully online program. We don't have any requirements to come to campus, but certainly do offer opportunities for students if they'd like to take advantage of that, either on campus or through global or domestic immersion trips. As John mentioned, we partner with the Coursera platform to offer our content. So it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Couple of things that really sets us apart is we do have large cohorts, but that opens opportunities for networking and also really lowers the price of our program at just $22,000 for the complete tuition and fees. As John mentioned, that really disrupted the market in terms of a lot of the quality education and MBA programs being offered either residentially or in the online space. So that's something we're really proud of, that we've been able to keep that cost down and really have a mission of democratizing education and making it available globally.
Now, it's obvious that one major advantage for online MBA programming is the flexibility it affords students. You can keep your full-time job, keep your paycheck. You can do your MBA from any place in the world pretty much. While there are programs that do require some immersions, particularly the blended programs on campus, the truth is, if you're traveling a lot for business, this is an ideal way to get your MBA. And if you're balancing, personal and professional responsibilities, this is also an ideal way to get the MBA. And because the technology has improved dramatically, particularly in the last 5-10 years, and more people are accustomed to working and playing online, it's a pretty comfortable format to adapt to your lifestyle. The other piece of the flexibility is how many intakes these programs have. Traditional programs, you start in the fall and you pretty much can't start any other time. But in online MBA programs, most of them have multiple intakes. Now, Gies, you're up to, I think, is it 3 or 4?
We're up to 5, actually.
Oh my goodness.
5 intakes a year, yep.
So there are 5 different times of the year that you can actually start the program. And what are those times? What are the months?
January, March, May, August, and October.
Yeah, so that gives a lot of flexibility to start. And
Keeps us busy on the admissions and recruitment side.
Yeah, it keeps you busy too.
Yeah.
And at IE, are there 2 or 3 intakes?
Yeah, so I wanted to start out by clarifying, I should have done this before. We have a number of online MBAs ranging from, our standard MBA program where you do need 3 years of professional experience up to an executive MBA program that actually is in conjunction with Brown University in Providence. So I just wanted to get that on the table. When I'm talking about the online MBA, I'm typically talking about the global online MBA, which is anywhere from 3 years of experience to 10 years of experience, just to kind of get that out there.
Good point.
And so for this program and some of the executive programs as well, we do have 2 intakes. So we have a fall intake that happens in September and a spring intake that happens anywhere between February and April, depending on the program.
Right. And at MBA at UNC, what are your intakes?
We have 4, and they are January, April, July, and October.
Yeah. So, no matter where you are in your personal life, it's very easy to accommodate a start with an online MBA program. The other flexibility here is, look, let's say something happens in your personal life, or something happens in your professional life. You got a new promotion, new job, and new responsibilities, and you're going to have to pay more attention in the beginning of that job. You can ease up on your studies and usually extend the amount of time with which to take your courses in an online MBA program, which is something you could never do in a residential full-time program. So that's another really good benefit. Karen, what would you say are some of the more unique or unusual aspects that differentiate your online MBA from others?
I think one of the biggest takeaways from this program is that you're getting that Keenan-Flagler MBA. So, not everyone has the luxury of moving to North Carolina. And as you talked about, taking off work for 2 years, we really pride ourselves in the fact that this program helps you get a lot of the same core courses, the same electives, same opportunities, same career and leadership opportunities. Most of our students have 10 years of work experience, so they kind of have an idea of what they want to do trajectory wise. They maybe really love what they do, want to continue to move up within their organization, or be able to utilize those CNL opportunities to make a career pivot. And then you also get lifelong career coaching with this program, which I think is really important. If you have started a new job and want to take these 2 years to really focus on school and this new role, but want to come back 5 years after graduation and talk to someone about what that next step might look like, we have those resources. And then obviously our summits are tremendously excitable within the program. Students love it. Obviously with COVID right now, we've had to put those on hold temporarily, but as Casey talked on with her program, international summits, domestic summits, just the opportunity to really meet with your classmates and see professors and everyone face to face.
And a usual MBA summit is something that's like an extended weekend, right?
Correct.
So it might start on what? You go in Thursday night and start on Friday morning, and you leave on Sunday.
Correct. Yeah, there's always an optional dinner Thursday that we encourage students to come to, and then you're really in session all day Friday, all day Saturday, and most of Sunday.
And when you enroll in the program, you're required to do how many of these? And then if you want to, what's the maximum number of MBA summits that you can do?
You're required to do 2. It doesn't matter if you do them both domestically, both internationally, one of each, completely up to you. And you can do up to 4 for credit.
Right. Now, I can tell you I've attended one of the summits in Silicon Valley where the students had to pitch to venture capitalists. It was very neat, very cool. And what I was struck with was sort of the friendships that had developed among the classmates and students. They really were able to make some really important connections with each other and the faculty, which I thought was really impressive.
Absolutely.
Where are your other summits? What typically, in a non-COVID environment, where would you meet?
Pretty much all over. So we try to do Chapel Hill twice a year. I think it's really important for students to be able to come on campus and actually, be there in all the buildings, as we talked about, visit with the dean, visit with professors. Usually we do one other domestic city. So in the past, that's been San Antonio, Chicago, as you mentioned, California. And then we do often international summits to Taipei, Warsaw, Poland. I've been with our team to London. We've gone to Johannesburg. So we usually try to plan out our destinations about 2 years in advance, and then students can attend any summit they want to during that 24-month to 36-month period.
Right. That's great. Now, Jessica, you already mentioned that there's a fairly significant in-person component to IE's program as well. Do you also do some immersion trips here and there?
Yeah, so there's an international optional immersion week that happens in both the executive MBA that we're talking about and the global online MBA. When I'm actually an alumna of the program as well, I didn't mention that either. I keep thinking of these points afterwards. So when I did the program, the options were Miami, Tel Aviv, and Shanghai. And so each of those cities offer something very different. And so in Tel Aviv, a lot of people who are interested in tech startups, entrepreneurship went there. Miami, a lot of people were either looking at tourism, or there's a big finance industry here, relations with Latin America, et cetera. So those were some of the options then. In the past, they've also done trips to Singapore. They've done trips to San Francisco, where obviously they've gone and seen the tech scene there as well. So it depends on the intake, and that's absolutely optional. But we also, one thing I'd like to mention, we also have 32 offices across the globe. So one of them that I'm sitting in right now. And this is also a big resource for the students. So just a few weeks ago, I had a group of EMBA students, executive MBA students, who weren't able to make the trip to Madrid and decided to meet up in Miami. And so we were able to support them, offer them a space where they could meet. They were going through their graduation. They were able to connect to their classes online here. So having those offices is a resource when you're doing the program. And then afterwards, whether it's looking for a job afterwards, connecting with the alumni community, that's also a big part of that international experience.
Right. That's great. And Casey, I've attended some of the classes at Gies, and I know that the students get to know each other in those classes because you have the live internet classes every week as well. And then I've been on campus at the University of Illinois when your online students come. It's a voluntary thing that they can come to, and they attend classes on campus, and there's a lot of socializing. For many, that's a high point, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we typically have an event each fall on campus called iConverge, where we have a couple hundred of our students really converging on campus and doing those things that you just mentioned, attending a class in person, professional development and networking sessions. They get to meet the faculty. They get to see the studios where their live lectures are performed from, and it's just a really great opportunity. They also, of course, get to come back to campus for graduation and commencement ceremonies in kind of pre and post-COVID times. That's certainly an option for them as an online student. So that's really interesting to see. Sometimes students first step foot on campus for their graduation ceremonies.
Right. They're very excited to come. I mean, I've shared pizza with them and sat around and talked to them. They're very well connected. So we have our fourth panelist who just popped in, Megan Rogers. Hi, Megan.
Hi, everyone. Apologies.
That's okay.
So working from home the power just went out, but came back on. So
well, let me introduce you. You're Chief Marketing Officer of the Jack Welch Management Institute. Of course, everyone knows who Jack Welch is, and if you don't, you should. In fact,
John, you might have his book behind you.
Why don't you read my book that I did with Jack, which was a bestseller on the New York Times list for 26 weeks. Jack Welch, of course, is the late legendary chairman and CEO of General Electric Company. And your online MBA takes a very pragmatic approach. Give us a little sense of when it got started and how it's different from others on the market.
Yeah, so our program was founded a little over 10 years ago as a standalone online program. So, from day one, Jack had the vision to bring his, management philosophy to the masses, and really saw, online as the platform to do that. So I think in many ways, a bit of a visionary in what he was trying to accomplish. So, we've grown the program, obviously, from a startup now to one of the largest online and most diverse online MBA programs in the world. Very global population, very split, gender-wise. And I think really, the differences have remained, from day one, wanting to provide a leadership education, management, business education, and training from the point of view of a CEO who has been there and done that. So, our program really is designed to give people, an executive mindset. Not that everybody aspires to be in the C-suite, of course, but, sitting in that position in a company, you sort of learn really what's important and what you really need to focus on. And so we bring that both from the curriculum perspective, both in terms of all the technical skills that you get, but also really in the people management and leadership style. So again, a very different type of program. we like to say, learn today, apply tomorrow. In fact, if you're one of the students of the Jack Welch Management Institute, many of them will share that right back. But really, the program has always been designed online. And because we have such a customer focus, if you will, we really do view our students as customers. They've really helped us along the way by bringing their feedback into really what an online student needs, and helping us design that from the ground up. So everything from the way that the courses are delivered to the faculty in the classroom to the networking experiences are really designed more around student input and feedback. All under the guise of really wanting people to have a return on their, education investment from day one. And we've seen that, our students, more than 2/3 get raises and promotions while they're enrolled. We've always been online, and it's really used it to our advantage. I think we obviously know the population that we serve, and use their feedback, and really understand that getting an education online is great, but it's also unique, and you really need to design your both the curriculum, the way you deliver it, and the services to the people that you're, to your customers. So
one of the things that always impressed me was how much time Jack invested in the program before his death last year. I mean, he really took a lot of great pride in this, and I know, as a matter of fact, that he would look at student satisfaction ratings the way a network executive looks at ratings of their programs on television. He was very much in the weeds and in the detail, making sure that student satisfaction was exceptionally high, which is sort of an interesting part of, I'm sure, that's taught in the program. Delighting your customer and making sure that your customers are happy. So let's talk a little bit about each of the class profiles. Who's coming to the program? In terms of age, a number of you mentioned international students. I'd like to know how many international students are enrolled. I'd also like to know, I'm assuming that they come from very, very different backgrounds and industries and disciplines. But then also, do you require a Gmat or a GRE or not? Or are there waiver policies? Kara?
Sure. So most of our students have around 10 years of work experience on average, multiple industries represented, multiple functions. About 35% of each cohort is women. And then about 20% of our students in each cohort also have an advanced degree already. So we have some students who have PhDs and are realizing that, they still need the fundamentals of business in order to kind of move forward in their career growth. And so we do see a lot of students coming back to get their MBA, even if they've already, had other master's programs. As far as the Gmat and GRE, as long as you have 5 years of work experience, you're automatically waived. That goes across all of our MBA formats except for full-time. But evening, weekend, and online is set up that way. We can't count time if the co-op or internship while in college. It really is time immediately following your bachelor's degree that we can count. But you can fill out a Gmat or a GRE waiver. We review those every day and are looking obviously at transcripts, resumes, kind of the full package to see if you can be waived from any of those classes.
Great. Jessica, what's it look like at IE in terms of your class profile and whether or not you require a standardized test for admission?
Of course. Yeah. So you've heard me say this a few times already. It's an extremely international cohort.
What percent of your enrollment is international in your
I don't have the data in front of me, but I would say if you're thinking, for us, anything international is outside of Spain. And so in this program in particular, you could have anything from 80 to 90% of a cohort of about 80 to 100 students that's going to be international. About 10% of the class usually comes from North America. So we group together the US and Canada. So when students from, that are based here are wondering how many students they're going to be able to interact with from their region, we talk to them about that as well. But we usually have, the average is somewhere around 50 nationalities in class. I always tell people the anecdote of my first work group. We work a lot in groups, and I was based here in Miami. I had a Venezuelan who was based in the US, a Spaniard who was based in Qatar, a woman in Tel Aviv, and a man from Cyprus, and another man from Nigeria, from Lagos.
Wow.
So that was my work group. That was us trying not just to try to figure out, times to meet, but then also sitting down and trying to understand how we're going to respond to a business-like problem. So it's very international in that aspect. Professional years of experience, we need a minimum of 3, and that's a requirement across all of our MBAs. The average there is going to be somewhere around 7 or 8. And then the other thing, we talk a lot about diversity, and that's not just these different nationalities that I've been talking about, but we have a wide range of professional experiences, academic backgrounds, and that really does bring an interesting element to the classroom and to those class discussions of, trying to solve a problem when everyone has a very different background, approaches it in a different way. It's a very unique experience in that aspect. And along this theme of international students, so we do need a test, an admissions test for your application for the program. However, because we have so many international students and not everyone is focused on, taking the Gmat, it's not necessarily, the way that they've been brought up, and it's not necessarily normal in their cultures. We've created our own online exam that these students can take in place of that. So it's more of a logical reasoning exam. We do require that students apply before they take the test, but if anybody needs more information, we could provide that for you as well.
Great. And Casey, you mentioned the current enrollment, which is over 4,000 students in the Gies program. Give us a sense for who's actually coming. What does that profile really look like?
Sure. So before I forget, we do not require the Gmat or GRE. We do have a 3-year full-time work experience requirement, however. But we have about a 20% international student population. Average age is around 37 with about 11 years of work experience. Similar to Jessica and Kara, we have students coming from all types of different academic disciplines and professional experience, and we feel like that really benefits the cohort and those discussions through group projects, and also about 90 to 100 countries represented in the program. So you truly are getting a global experience versus maybe a more traditional brick and mortar classroom. You're studying with other students from very similar, demographics. And so that, again, that discussion is incredibly important in our program. We're about 67% male, 32% female, really trying to improve that in our next kind of coming admission cycles. Great.
And Megan, what does the average student look like at the Jack Welch Management Institute?
Sure. I guess in comparison to the other programs, we're a little bit older. Our average age is 39. So folks are bringing in, 12, 13, 14 years of experience into the classroom. About 60% of our students are also manager level and above. About 25% are from outside the United States. And we're really split right down the middle in terms of gender, 50-50.
Wow.
Yeah, so, I think obviously we've always been a school that served working adults, that are working full time and trying to get their degree, which is certainly no small feat. And, I think it really appeals to especially female professionals, who are that just really can't take any time off to show up in any one place at any one time. So, and our program is also asynchronous. I know there's a lot of great models now with the prevalence of online education. So, sort of the diversity, flexibility. And I'd say the one other thing on diversity is, our age range is, late 20s to late 60s. So you do get, kind of that really great diversity of thought in the program. And what's really great is, the folks that maybe have a little bit more experience get a lot from the younger, millennial point of view, and vice versa. So, you find a lot of peer mentoring and peer coaching. And just to address the Gmat, if you have less than 5 years of experience, we do require the Gmat or GRE. Like others, we have waivers with 5 or more years of professional experience.
Great, thank you. Obviously, the MBA is known to be a general management degree, to give you all the business basics in every core discipline, and then some. I wonder to what extent a student could specialize in a given area in any one of your programs. Are there majors or concentrations or specializations, whatever words you want to put on them, where someone can dive a little deeper through elective course offerings or not? Kara?
Sure. So we have multiple concentrations. It's not a requirement for you to do one, but a lot of our students do. We have concentrations in everything from finance, data analytics, marketing, consulting. And the beauty of the program too is that as long as there's space available, you can actually take classes in other formats if you wish. So for some online students who maybe live local to North Carolina but travel a lot, and that's why they're choosing to do the online program, they can take electives in our other formats as long as there's space available. So as you build out your concentration, you have electives left over once you've fulfilled that concentration. But you can also take electives in some of our other formats and network with students that way, and also just take additional electives. Some electives also, or I'm sorry, some concentrations also kind of overlap each other. So some students end up walking away with 2 concentrations because they're taking very similar electives.
Great. Jessica, how about on IE? Are there specializations?
Yes, actually for the Global Online MBA, students can in their 3rd period, it's a 3-period, you have 3 terms. That last term you can choose a number of electives in a lot of different areas. I mean, some of the more traditional like communications or marketing or entrepreneurship or finance, but also in specifically in operations or information systems, human sciences and technology, things like that. And then another thing that I would mention, because I think this is a way for students to also really personalize the program, is they're required to do a capstone project at the end of the program. And that could be a traditional entrepreneurship project, which is what I did. So, putting together your business plan, walking through all of those stages in a group, or it could be more of an intrapreneurship project. So looking at how you would innovate within an organization. And that's where students also have the ability to say, this is a field that I'm really interested in, or an industry I'm really interested in, and this is how I'm going to incorporate that into the work I'm going to be doing for my final project.
Right. And Casey at Gies?
Yeah, so all of our courses are arranged into specializations. We have 4 core specializations that all students complete, give them kind of that general MBA curriculum. And then they choose 2 focus specializations that may be in business analytics, global strategy, innovation, digital marketing. They also do 3 capstone projects, and you can choose what 2 of them are specialization capstones, so you can choose what best fits your career interests. And then we also have a program capstone at the end.
Right. And how about at the Jack Welch Management Institute? Are there specializations or not?
Yeah, we have our core MBA program, which, as I mentioned, is really leadership focused. And then we do have 3 concentrations in healthcare, operations management, which is relatively new. Jack kind of being one of the biggest proponents of Six Sigma and operations management and human resources. So our students all take the same core leadership classes and people management and change management classes. And then for their concentrations, they'll take, a series of 3 or 4 classes, and then they come back together similar to other models in their capstone course, where they sit in the seat of a CEO and have to, solve a business problem. And for most of them, they're bringing in acting as if they were the CEOs of their current companies to solve those problems.
Right. Yep. So a lot of, so in addition to getting a general management curriculum, you're also having the advantage of being able to dive a little deeper into a given area of specialty of some kind, which is really helpful for a lot of students. So I think that there are 3 big issues that a lot of would-be MBA applicants wonder about before they sign up for an online adventure. I'm going to call it an adventure. The first thing that they wonder is, well, what am I going to lose? What do I sacrifice by taking education online? Am I going to lose connection with classmates and with the faculty? And is that going to be worth it for me if that's the case? Another question I think that a lot of applicants ask themselves are, am I really going to be able to do this? if in a rigorous MBA program, it's pretty demanding. How am I going to balance that with both the world of work that I'm in, which can be very demanding, or my personal life, my kids, my spouse, and my broader family responsibilities? And then I think the third big question is, okay, well, bottom line, how's this going to help my career? Is it really going to get me into a position where I'll be more widely considered for promotion? Will I be able to move up the ladder on income? Will my career be more professionally fulfilling to me? So let's tackle each of those issues. Now, Jessica, you went through the experience yourself, so you're the guinea pig here. You have the online MBA. So let's start with you, and let's start with the question of balance, right?
Yeah.
Now, generally, I think most people say you would need to spend 15 to 20 hours a week on your online MBA studies. How did the work-life balance thing work out for you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's tough. But I think any real transformative kind of experiences, I like that you call it an adventure, because it's just that. One week or month or day is not the same as the next. And of course you get to moments where you say, how am I able to juggle all of this? To fast forward, the high side of that is that at the end you realize you are able to juggle all of that, and your capabilities of what you're able to do in 24 hours kind of multiplies. But with that said, I mean, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. It is tough. It is a commitment that you have to make, but you really do realize you start prioritizing things in another way. I remember signing on to classes from an island in the Florida Keys with my friends and said, I'm going on this trip, but I will have to spend my Saturday morning in classes. We have pictures of students in all types of places reading their cases or signing on to classes and trying to find that balance. It's definitely possible. And I have had classmates who had children, who had to figure out what times to do their work. Children don't usually understand that you need to do something else. It doesn't always register with them. It is possible. It does take some work. Usually the first month or so, you're trying to figure out, how to do things. I say you feel almost like, a working parent who says, I'm not giving 100% here or 100% there, but that's life. And so those are skills that you're learning how to be present in a number of different areas in a number of different ways, instead of just focusing all of your attention on work or all of your attention on your personal life or all of your attention on school. There's times when classmates would have to, pitch in a little bit more. I had, classmates who moved, who had job transitions. And so at those moments, because it's such a close cohort and you work in groups and you get to know your classmates so well, everybody's going through that together. So, you lend a hand to someone one time when they have a work compromise that they can't miss and they can't make it to class, and you help them out afterwards, or a group project, things like that. And again, that's the real world too. There's times when you'll have deadlines that someone will have to help you with. There's times you'll have to put in a little bit more than your colleague. So all of these skills that you're learning, I think they're really, really, relatable to what you're going to experience afterwards.
Yeah, that's really true. The other thing I should point out that may not be evident to a lot of people is that, when you go into a full-time residential program, it's a set structured schedule. And while online is also structured, you can stretch the time frame generally. So if a big important assignment at work is coming due, or if you're going to have a child or some other major personal development pops up in your life, you can take a lighter load. And in some cases, you could actually skip a semester or a term so that you could steal back your time and not really miss a beat, because you can get back into the game very easily. And will be nudged to do so by the program and your classmates, no doubt. So that's another advantage. Now, Kara, what about the other issue that people wonder about? Can I really connect with people? Am I going to have to sacrifice one of the joys of learning, which is making new friends, new relationships, and learning from people that I otherwise would never have met?
Yeah, absolutely. most of our students will tell you that they have built closer relationships in this online format at UNC than some of them did in their undergraduate programs when they obviously were on campus. The classes do change. You're taking classes with different people, but there are tons of stories about students meeting at orientation in person and then deciding to take every single core class together that they can. Just about every class has a group project component. So if you've already kind of met with your classmates, you know what everybody brings to the table, everybody's schedules, you work really well together, then a lot of those students really like to take their classes moving forward together. I would say the summits, orientation and graduation are really the prime times where everybody gets, to see each other face to face. As I mentioned before, that can be in Chapel Hill, that could be internationally. But as a staff member, and especially, pulling these students through the program, meeting them, they're first applying to then seeing them graduate. It's so exciting to see them actually meet for the first time in person at a lot of these events. And just kind of see them tackle each other in, one of the breakout sessions or something, because they're finally getting to see each other face to face. So I definitely don't think that you are, losing anything by doing an online program. You really have those same exact relationships that you would have in person. If you think about it, I talked to a lot of our evening students. If you're in an evening format, there's 60 students in a room, students kind of tend to go to the same spot of the classroom each Monday night, talk to just those people that are around them. And this forces students to kind of get outside of that natural bubble that they want to be in and really meet different students in every single class they take.
Yep, absolutely. And Megan, earlier you spoke of the fact that 2/3 of the students in the Jack Welch program get a promotion while they're in the program. Speak a little bit more about, career development, professional development, what kind of hand-holding you might provide people, and what kind of career outcomes can people generally expect?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the majority of our folks are working full-time when they come into the program. So obviously I went to a traditional bricks and mortar, I went to HBS, so obviously you have a much different approach, right? When you're asking people to stop, out of their career for 2 years. So everything that we've designed from a program perspective, has to be immediately applicable for folks while they're working, right? You're just not going to take the time out of your day away from your family to go to school if you're not seeing that immediate return. So a lot of the career development, elements, for example, we're teaching people how to manage, how to lead, how to hire, how to fire, how to build great teams, how to give feedback. And that goes a long way in addition to the technical skills, a lot of the career advancement that we see while in the program. Obviously realize while people are working, they will have at some point in their career, or maybe they're inspired when they get into the program to switch jobs. So we have a lot of supplemental resources as well for our students as they go through the program. I think it's really important to note that even though we are in 100% online program and asynchronous, meaning you don't have to log in live at any particular time, again, based on direct feedback from our students, we have built proprietary platform where a networking platform where students will have access to at least one live event every week. Now that could be, from a professional development perspective, you may be coming in listening to CEOs or entrepreneurs talk about, startup issues, right? Like how do you get down and dirty and market your business in digital marketing, as a startup. Or it is people looking, who are at that particular moment in their career where they're wanting to move up or wanting to move out. So there is no really, sort of prescribed way that we work with students. As with anything, we try to give them the resources, that they need when they need it. And the great thing is that, the ability to really impact students where they are in their career and really bring their professional problems, their professional challenges into the classroom means that they're getting coaching every single week. Whether or not it's, how do I pitch this idea internally, or, hey, I really want to, go for this next promotion, but I'm really not sure, how to present myself, or I'm navigating a really difficult, conversation at work, or I'm, working through M&A acquisition and the culture's changing, again, the entire nature of the program, really respecting that our students are working and understanding that desire that if we don't do a good job of giving them the tools exactly when they need them, they're not going to be able to go out and put it into workplace. And really that's the underlying of, they're getting the raises and promotions while they're enrolled, because our entire curriculum is really developed around that point of view.
Yeah. The other thing I found is that many online students tell me across the board that when other colleagues at work learn that they're doing an online MBA, there's a tremendous curiosity about it. And it sparks all kinds of conversations in the workplace. And of course, there is the personal development is obvious because you can apply the learning, which is not true when you have to quit your job and attend full time. Now, Casey, I've seen the stats out of the Gies program on people who've had promotions and salary increases, and it's pretty impressive stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. 95% of our students say they've been able to take what they learned in the classroom and apply it professionally. We have about 54% received a promotion or salary increase at some point during their program, and 21% received a pay increase. So it's not just about the degree at the end of the day, but really, again, what you're learning throughout the duration of the program.
Right. Now we have some questions from the audience. So I should just say that we're going to deal with some Q&A here. And the other thing I want to remind everyone is that after we finish our panel discussion, you can go into a break room with any one of our panelists if you'd like to follow up and ask for more details about the program, the intake, the admission requirements, the cost, or what have you. Let me go to some of these questions now. We have a person who's asking each school about the availability of need-based scholarships. Now, I know in the case of Gies, because the price point is so low, that there are no scholarships available. That's correct, right?
That is correct. Until summer 2021 intake, we will have a very limited number of need-based scholarships, covering up to 70% of the tuition costs. So we will be formally announcing that very soon.
So there we go. We're breaking news right here. There's your scoop. Wow. Okay. And Megan, I don't know if you guys offer any need-based scholarship help, or do you?
We don't offer need-based scholarships per se, but I think about 55-60% are getting some sort of scholarship aid because they fall into different eligibility requirements or, leadership based. So, based on your professional background, military service, leadership experience, even for those that are still taking the Gmat and GRE, there's a wide range of scholarships available. And most of our students, if they're not receiving aid from their company, as many of our students do receive tuition assistance, right, can slot in very easily to get aid.
Yeah, which is a good point and should be emphasized that, in an online MBA, because you are applying what you learned and there is a direct benefit to your employer while you're enrolled in the program and after, if you stay, many employers still offer some kind of assistance. Could be some time off. It could be a small percentage of the cost of the program. If you work for an extremely generous company, and this is less true today than it used to be, they might foot the entire bill as long as you stick around after you graduate. Kara, I know that UNC offers scholarship help for people who need it, right?
We do, and we just have, similar to Megan, generalized fellowships as well. So you don't have to fill out any fellowship documentation. We just review your application holistically, and based on career progression, leadership, undergraduate GPA, all of those, you can be provided a fellowship.
Great. And Jessica, at IE, are there any is there any scholarship money around?
Yes. You might not think we don't have this massive alumni giving association. It's not really the thing in Europe, at least not yet. But with that, we do have the foundation, the IE Foundation, that offers scholarships to students. We do offer scholarships based on need and or merit. So yes, I guess is the answer to that question, that we do offer need-based scholarships. The average there is going to be somewhere around 20-30%. The maximum, we do have a few full 100% scholarships, but they're very rare. So you're usually looking at somewhere around, the maximum is going to be somewhere around 40% of tuition costs.
Great. Good to know. Now, this person also asked about Gmat and Toefl waivers. We covered the Gmat and the GRE earlier, and I'll just recap for those who weren't here. Basically, Gies and the Jack Welch Institute do not require a Gmat or a GRE, and UNC and IE will waive the tests. IE, in fact, has its own test so that you don't have to worry about a Gmat or GRE. You can simply take the IE test to give the school assurances that you can complete the quant work. And the waivers are at UNC, I would imagine, are fairly generous today given the pandemic. And given the fact that, most people who enter these programs do have a lot of full-time work experience. I believe, Kara, you said if you have 5 years of professional full-time work experience, you pretty much don't have to have a Gmat or GRE. So that answers that question. Let's see, would my previous manager, not a direct supervisor, but CEO from 7 years ago, be okay for a recommendation letter? I don't see why not. Anyone disagree with that? No, it's fine. I mean, I think in general, you want someone who writes a recommendation letter who knows you well, as opposed to someone who barely knows you. And of course, they should have a very positive feeling about you, and they should be willing to convey their positive feelings in a letter. That's sort of really the secret of getting a good recommendation. And if that person knows you really well, even though you worked for them 7 years ago, that can really matter for you. So there's another question here from Matt. He asks, what are the expected math skills for each of your programs? Now, for the poets out there, I know the poets are always worried about what kind of math and what kind of quant work is going to be required in an MBA program, and am I going to be able to tackle it? Jessica, you impressed me as a poet as opposed to a quant. Am I right? And did you have any trouble with the math?
You're right. And I think, so my undergraduate degree is actually in humanities. I studied Spanish. I did a master's in international relations, still very humanities focused. We had. That
explains too why you were so attracted to IE as a online MBA experience.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's not that we're trying to challenge you. It's that part of understanding. If you think of an MBA as a general business degree with the idea of that you can run a company or a department and you need to understand all of that, you have to be able to read a balance sheet. You have to understand, what your accountants are doing. So it was a little tough for me, but I will tell you, I excelled in other areas of the MBA. I had a couple actually CFAs in my class. And so our finance classes were kind of like a walk in the park for them. But at the same time, it's all applied. So you're looking at different, business cases. You're looking at valuating a company to understand, would you buy or sell at this price? And that's something that, you're still getting this experience because you're looking at it in a different way and you're understanding the scenario. So I mean, you'll have to get through accounting. You'll have to get through a couple finance courses. You'll not just have to, but you'll want to understand that. So I remember having my corporate finance class here in the office. We have whiteboards that you can write on these. It looked like I was solving, the problem for world peace. I had my formulas everywhere. I was ready to go. It's not my forte, but I survived, I guess. And I learned from it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And Casey, I would imagine you have a similar answer in terms of, the math. It's business. You got to know math. You got to know calculus. You got to know how to do analytical work. So there's going to be some requirements, but it's not daunting or overwhelming. And you have plenty of people in your class, as Jessica pointed out, who are going to help you. And because most of the work is done in teams, inevitably you're going to have someone from the world of finance or accounting who's going to be on your team. Is that right, Casey?
Yeah, absolutely. Learn to lean on your teammates a little heavier if needed in those quantitative courses, and then it'll probably be vice versa as you move into some of the more soft skills. We do also offer some prep courses in statistics and fundamentals of accounting. And so we just always encourage students take advantage of those resources. We do still have office hours with our faculty. We have study groups. We have tutoring available for our online students. So just like within a residential program, you know, take advantage of those resources and of your classmates.
And Matt, I'll just add too that an online MBA is perfect for anyone who has some math anxiety. And I'll tell you why. All the classes are recorded. So that means if you don't get it the first time, you can play it again. And again, and most programs have a library of resources where you can get the basics and you can get them over and over again in that library through video lectures and assignments and things. So that's sort of like an added benefit, because if you're just going into a regular class environment and some of the students you were next to have 10 years in finance, you have 0, you're at a much more significant disadvantage because you can't replay the lecture and you can't go to the videotape library to get the basics before you even start the program, which you can generally do in an online MBA format. Here's an interesting question. It's from someone who says her husband is doing his master's, so it would be a challenge for her to start the program right now. But they're wondering, can I start non-degree credits toward the MBA at my own pace and then get into the full degree program when I'm better situated? Now, here's a case, Casey, where I know your stackable format can come into play. Can you describe that? And is that something that would be helpful to someone like this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have the option to take any of our courses as a non-degree student. So maybe you're just looking for a couple of leadership classes right now or a full leadership specialization. You have the option to do that without the full degree. But then maybe later you have more time or more interest in some of the other courses as well. That can certainly be stacked into your requirements to earn the MBA. The other thing I'll mention is we do have a performance-based admissions track. So if you do have some concerns about your application, maybe a lower undergraduate GPA, something that you feel is lacking, you can also apply to that track and take a few classes. If you do academically well, it plays a big factor in our admissions decision.
And this is another thing about the online MBA format that I'm just going to mention. Look, you can start any online MBA program, get it for credit, and just start slow, right? I mean, you don't have to take 2 courses from the start in any of these programs, I assume. You can start slow, take 1 at a time in the beginning. And then when you get a little more comfortable and maybe your husband completes his master's degree, you take a more of a full load. Megan, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, so again, many of our students are in the exact same spot. Married, supporting families, everybody's trying to do everything. Our program, the majority of the students only take 1 class at a time. Doesn't prevent you from taking 2. If you only take, 1 at a time, it will take you about 3 years to finish the program. But exactly right, John. A lot of folks will, they'll double up when they get to the subjects that they're most comfortable with. But if they're a poet and wanting to spend a little bit more time in the finance course, they may choose to take 1. And we also you can stack any of our concentrations as well. You do come in at the graduate level, so you are have to meet the admissions requirement because you're taking graduate level classes and they are challenging. And you will be intermingled with a lot of the folks in the MBA program. We find a lot of students who are nervous about the time commitment or just nervous about going back to school because it's been so long or they've never done it online, start in that certificate track, as we call it, but then end up stacking and going on to the full MBA.
Right. Well, I can't believe it, but our time is up. I'm just shocked. It went by so fast. So let me just thank each and every one of you. I think we had a really good, informative session. I think a lot of people learned a lot about the online MBA format and what they can expect in the program. And more importantly, the differentiation, the different approaches that each program has. Every program brings unique strengths to the game. And I think that's really helpful because the choice is really robust. So I think everyone here These 4 programs are quite different from each other. And in the way, I think they show the wonderful diversity and the wonderful options that are available in the market. So Megan at Jack Welch, thank you. Kara at UNC, Kenan Flagler, thank you very much. Casey at Illinois, Gies College of Business, thank you. And Jessica, a pleasure, at IE Business School in Spain, although she is in Miami. Do you get to go to Madrid much?
Yeah,
lately.
circumstances we're there a couple times a year.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So hopefully get to see that tower. You beat me to it.
I'm going to be there for the opening in September. I'm getting my vaccination soon. I'm going to be ready to go. Rock and roll. Absolutely.
Good for you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And for all of you out there, thank you. I want to remind you that there are sessions that you can attend right after this with any one of our panelists. If you want to dig a little deeper and ask more detailed questions about the programs, and what's expected of you as an applicant, you can do so there. So this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.